Well, hello everyone. I hope and pray that you're doing well. Earlier this year, there was a Christian revival at Asbury University in Wilmore, Kentucky. You may have heard it. It was heard about it. It was sparked by students spontaneously staying, following a regularly scheduled chapel. And Asbury President Kevin Brown sent out a brief two-sentence email, kind of when it was all starting off. He says, "Hey, there's worship happening in the chapel. You're welcome to join." And with that, this revival took place. Now, I don't know how you feel about revivals or the movement of the Spirit, particularly in North America. It might be a little bit tempting sometimes to be skeptical about revivals. But the scriptures insist that God can do far more than all we ask or imagine. And so I was watching one day on the live stream just to kind of check it out, and people were being invited to share their testimony, the testimony that they had about God's work in their lives, how God was making a difference or how God had acted in their lives. And the leader invited them to kind of frame their time with the ABCDs of testimonies, right? To help the testimony be helpful in worship and not just be a distraction, there were four things. He said, A, always about Jesus. Always about Jesus. B, brief. Be brief. C, current. And then D, don't preach. Don't preach. And with that, students would launch into their testimonies, their story about the work of God in their lives. Here, in the Terrace CRC, a few years ago, at around Easter time, we started talking a little bit about sharing our testimony. And, for hundreds of years, and this is maybe particularly fitting when we think about Easter, for hundreds of years, churches used this three-sentence testimony. Christ has died, Christ is risen, Christ will come again. Really a powerful testimony. Christ has died, Christ is risen, Christ will come again. And those sentences kind of speak about the hope that is ours because of Easter. And in a single sentence, you can say quite a bit. Maybe you're familiar with Ernest Hemingway's classic six-word story. For sale, baby shoes, never worn. And maybe an even more powerful sentence comes to us from the Gospel of John, chapter 9. One thing I do know, said the man transformed by Jesus, one thing I do know, I was blind, but now I see. I talk to enough people who don't think their story or their testimony is terribly glamorous, or that words are your thing, right? Sandy Schwartzentruber, she's from the CRC's Faith Formation Committee. She writes this. She says, setting aside the fact that calling any faith journey boring is quite an affront to our loving and faithful God, the idea that faith stories have to be ultra-dramatic is one we should challenge. Right? Testimonies help us see God working in our lives. They help us see that much more clearly. And when we give our testimony, even that exercise of articulating things is really powerful. Here's one example of a three-sentence faith story. Because I am 4'10", weigh 85 pounds, and have several autoimmune diseases, the doctors told me I would not get pregnant. When I got pregnant, the doctors told me I was too small to carry a child full term and too weak for a cesarean. I am now the mother of a healthy 4-year-old son. Mother Teresa once said, "You will never know Jesus is all you need until Jesus is all you have." And what if one way to rediscover that Jesus is all we need is to talk about how Jesus has been all we needed? And then, 1 Peter 3 just gives us invitation. If anybody asks why you believe as you do, be ready to tell them. Always about Jesus. I mean, your testimony, your story, it's never boring because of the incredible God who has intervened in our lives. The peace of Christ be with you.